And we are live. Welcome to the Self-Publishing Roundtable. I am Robert Chazchute of allthatchaz.com. I'm here with Erica Conroy from the Self-Publishing Roundtable. She's an author, and she's waving at you right now. Say hi, Erica.
Hi, Erica.
There you go. And there is Krishan Keller Hannah. Her mic sounds nice. She's got a killer smile. And she's Fabu. Say hi, Krishan.
Hello, all. My mic sounds nice. Check one.
Check two. Check three.
Testicles.
And our guest tonight is Becca J. Campbell. In this corner, she knows all about JuNoWriMo. She wants to talk about ActiveCampaign. She's got news and science to drop on your head. Welcome, Becca.
Hello. How are you doing?
I am relatively peachy, and I plan to be groovy a little bit later. And now, Krishan will take over the questioning, and you will take care of the answering, and Erica will look serious, and I will look concerned, and we will proceed with dignity.
Ish. How are you, Becca? It has been so long.
Yeah, I actually got to meet you in, was it October?
Yeah,
Maybe?
Actually, it was during NaNoWriMo last year.
Oh, yeah, November. Yeah.
Right. And we got to
doing
talk
well.
about... Huh?
Oh, I said I'm doing well. Sorry to interrupt you.
Cool. So good. And I met you because Matt and Nancy from Author Strong, whoops, were talking. I forgot where they came from. They're going to kill me. But
Another awesome place.
Yes, but they are absolutely awesome. And they were talking to you about JuNoWriMo because this is something that they were really involved in. So tell us a little bit about it, how you started it, and the awesome reason why you did.
Well, I actually got the initial idea for doing a second NaNoWriMo type of event. It has been about 5 years ago, and after Nano, I was like just fired up and excited, and I said, I want to do this again. I want to do this twice a year. You know, I need a couple months, I need a little break, but then I want to hit it hard again and crank out the words. And I don't want to do it alone. I want a community of friends to write with me and, you know, push me harder. And so I just had a random tweet that was like, hey, is JuNoWriMo a thing? Because it should be a thing. And one of my friends from NaNoWriMo on Twitter, she responded and she was like, I don't know, but I want it to be a thing too. And so we got together and we did a little research and found that it currently did not exist. And so we created the event, and the following June, we launched our first JuNoWriMo. We picked June because it was a good month for both of us. Summertime is often a lot more calm for some people. I know for some it's not, but for both of us that was like the perfect month to write because you have the crazy busy May with Mother's Day and graduations and, you know, Memorial Day weekend here in the U.S. and just all these different things and birthdays. You know, there's too many May birthdays, but June was perfect. So that's why we picked that month. And also 30 days, so same rules as NaNoWriMo. So you're still going for the 50,000 words. You still have 30 days to do it. So same word count daily. We are a little bit more flexible than the NaNoWriMo people because really when it comes down to it, we just want more people to come write with us because that's fun. And we all have different goals with our writing. You know, we all are in different places. Some people may not even want to write novels. They might want to write a handful of short stories or novellas. And yeah, and you're raising your hand. Yay! And we support that. We love that because really the goal is just to help each other write in whatever form that is. And if you want to tweak your word count goal if 50,000 is too much or not enough, then you set your own goal. And we write together. So that's basically what it is. And this is our 5th year. This year has been great. We've had, it seems like every year we have a surge of new people. I think this year we have between like 200 and 300 new people. So it's really exciting. Yeah.
So how many people did you start off with the
Our
first
first year,
time?
we had almost 100. I think it was like maybe 90 something. I don't have the exact counts. We've gotten better at like keeping track, and our records don't go back very far because of initially we didn't make the mailing list mandatory, and so we kind of had people from all over, and there's no way to really count. And we have just recently added the Facebook group as part of the whole experience. Last year was the first year for that, and so this year it's gotten a lot bigger too, which is really a great place to have a community. Excuse me. Yeah, so anything else that I didn't cover about that, or, I don't know. You have any questions about JuNoWriMo in general besides all that?
Well, we did, but we wanted to get the history first.
Yeah. Well, there you go. I guess that's
Right.
the history.
So when we're talking about, is it wise for someone to approach JuNoWriMo the same way they would NaNoWriMo?
I mean,
go ahead.
I think that kind of goes back into what I was saying about like people having different writing styles and different goals. I think you definitely can approach it the same way. But we don't really frown on, even if people need to pick up a past work that they started, maybe they got 15,000 words into a book in November and they quit or something like that, and they don't want to start a new project, they want to continue. That's fine as well. Obviously there's going to be challenges with that, but really we're just a community that's trying to support writers. Okay. So.
And the reason why I asked that is because as well as I'm sure you know, every November we have NaNoWriMo, and someone talks about, well, it isn't for serious writers. I don't know why, but it seems like that's more of the tone for JuNoWriMo, that it is, we're not trying to be Hemingway, we're trying to have fun, right?
Definitely,
and
yeah.
And I think that's the thing I like about JuNoWriMo. It's about, let's do the work. How much work goes into organizing something this big and something this important?
How much work? That's a good question. How do you quantify that? How many hours? Basically, yeah. I would say I reserve a month or two ahead of time to get everything set up. The amount of work, thankfully, it's like when you run something like this for 5 years now, it starts to get more streamlined. It starts to run better. It starts to, there's always things that break or things that get missed or whatever. But this year has been really great. And really, it's the team of volunteers that I have behind me that are doing it all and making it awesome. I pretty much am just coordinating between them, what their desire is to help with, their time allotment, how much they can dedicate, what they're good at, their skills. And at this point, I've really gotten to know the people that are involved, and so I know, like, this person is really good at this. I want them managing the newsletter. This person is really great at social media. I want them to head that up. And so I'm just really thankful that I have this awesome team that comes together and they, give this time, not to me, but to this community of people. And they don't get anything out of it other than, the enjoyment of that. So I really rely on them for a lot of it. And like I said, most of the setup is the couple months before. And then if we can put everything into place, then it will just run smoothly through the month. Because the goal is, like, I don't want to spend my whole June stepping out and like, okay, now I have to run this. Okay, now I have to fix this. Now I have to post this. I have to write this, newsletter. Like, I need that to be all in place so that I can write too. Because June is big for me. I need this month for me to write as much as all the participants do too.
Right.
So.
And you have a great team who you're now going to take the time to give shout-outs to because they're so awesome.
No pressure. No pressure.
Yeah.
No pressure.
Yeah, and you know what's funny is that we did our first blab this year, and because I'm going to say most, no, I've met a couple of these people in real life, but most of them I only know from online. And what that means is I've never talked to them in person, only, through chat and email. And so then when you go to try to pronounce someone's name, you're like, okay, I've known you for years, but how do you say your name again? So I had to have a few messages about that. But here is the full team this year. Sydney Aaliyah.
Yeah.
She is from Texas. I have Angie Black. I have Sarah Chafin, Jessica Dragon Jeremy, Elizabeth Conrad, Eden Maybe, Margaret McNellis, Tiffany Sagan, Kate Tagai, and Alicia Wallace. And we actually had a new person pop in. It was just a few days ago. And she was a friend of one of our other members, and she has been stepping in to help with sprints too. So one of the things I didn't talk about is the word sprints that we do. My whole crew, or most of them, will jump in and take turns on that to keep those going on Twitter. So shout out to all of those girls. They're amazing.
Thank you so much. And the sprints go on the hour or on the 15 minutes? How did that go?
Sprints they vary. There's not a regular schedule. What we do is we just take turns running it based on our own schedules, and then whoever's leading, they can do it however they want. So they can, they can throw 30-minute sprints with 10-minute breaks, or they can do 5 on and 5 off, or they can, vary it however they want. And sometimes we do dares and word prompts and stuff like that to make it more fun and challenging.
Right.
So.
And overall engineered just to make it fun and productive.
Yes, definitely. Those are the goals. And encouraging, too.
So, having said that, what are you working on and how far have you gotten into it?
Oh,
Feel free to lie to me.
What? Don't lie to you.
Feel free to lie to me.
Oh, feel free to lie.
No, she'll know.
I'm
No,
not very
go
good.
ahead. Just tell me anything.
No, I'm fine with being honest. So my goals this year are a little bit different than normal, a little bit higher than normal, because so part of my backstory is I'm a homeschooling mother. I have 3 boys at home, and so when a lot of people who are parents send their kids off to school and they have several hours of free time to write, I am working hard trying to keep them all busy with their work. And so basically the school year, it's hard to fit in that time to work on projects. I have to squeeze it in here and there. But the summer we have a couple of straight months off, and so my goal is to really milk that for all that I can. So my goal this year is to get 75,000 words in June, and then another 50 in July. That's more than I've ever written in 2 months. So I may not make it, but if I don't make it and I get close, I'll be happy. Last year, between June and July, I managed 90,000. So I think it might be doable.
That's a lot of work. That's a lot of doing the work.
It's a lot of words. If I can get my first drafts written this summer, then I can edit the rest of the year. So I am currently somewhere beyond 25,000 words in that, which means I'm on track. But the one thing I didn't say is that that's 6 different projects.
Tell us about them, if you don't mind.
Well, so they're all in a series. They are mostly novellas. A few of them are short stories. It's a brand new series that I'm starting that is a spinoff of another series. I have the Flawed series is my first series of novels. And so this will be all novellas. And it's called The Uniques. I write about people that have superhuman weaknesses / there's usually some kind of power offset. So like if you think about X-Men, someone who has an ability like able to drain someone's energy, they also are not able to touch or have human contact. So there's a downside and then there's an upside. And sometimes the downside is way worse. You know, it's something that is really hard to live with. So that's the kind of thing I like to write about.
That sounds really cool. I especially like that you're writing novellas. I'm spending this week for NaNoWriMo, JuNoWriMo, pardon me, writing, it's too many years ago. I'm writing, well, I've written 3 short stories that are in the same universe as one of my series, and JuNoWriMo has helped me keep on track with that, and I've done 3 pretty long short stories in 3 days. It's really working out great.
Awesome. How long do you go for your short stories? What's your target, or where are you usually at?
I go until I'm done. So the shortest one is about 2,500 or 3,000 words, something like that. The next one was 4,000. The next one was 5,000.
Okay.
And the one that I'm working on, the goal is to make it 10,000 words. It looks like it's going to be closer to 15,000 words. It's one of 3 that I'm working on for JuNoWriMo. And so I just love this time because you just get a bunch of people behind you. It's like, go, 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 go.
Yeah.
And it's during the middle of summer. You don't have to worry about your in-laws coming in and co-opting an entire week of your writing either. So, wonderful.
Well, that's one of the things I enjoy about this JuNoWriMo. With NaNoWriMo, I tend to feel like it's about getting a novel done. And with this, I've actually got 5 projects this month, and I added them all up, and everything that I have to write works out to about 50,000 words. So it dovetailed great. I'm actually way ahead of schedule, and I never feel like I'm ahead of schedule. So thank you, JuNoWriMo. If it's only the 9th, if you are thinking about JuNoWriMo, have thought about it, and you haven't jumped yet, there's still time. You could still do it.
I might jump in and do it. I mean,
cool.
I haven't written in over a month, so I need to get back
the
in
pool
there.
is fine. Come on in.
But yeah, I write the shorter stuff too, so that's what I'll be focusing on this month.
Well,
Yeah,
that would
that's
be
great.
perfect too then. I mean, for only having, 20 days left or 21 days left, that's perfect for shorter works too. I had someone on Twitter who was just tweeting, she just found out today that JuNoWriMo was a thing. And it always cracks me up when I will see that every year. Oh my gosh, JuNoWriMo is a thing! And I retweet, and I'm like, yeah, it is. You should totally join. And she was like, oh, but it's too late. And I was like, it's not too late. You can definitely come in. And if you want to prorate your words, prorate your words. If you want to, do something shorter. And I think she decided to jump in and work on a work in progress that she could pick up. So, yeah.
Right. So what is the largest word count that you have recorded for JuNoWriMo?
Oh, that's a good question.
Like, somebody submitted and you're like, do you sleep?
I typically get the 50 and not much past it, and then I stop.
Right.
So I just have bigger goals this year. I think maybe part of that is hanging around with Matt Morris.
You can get it done in a day, 24 hours.
In one day?
Not that, no. I'm not going to be able to do anything like that. Just the idea of trying to produce and publish regularly, that's something that I'm trying to get better at. And so my thought is if I can get most of these written this summer and then cleaned up this fall, then hopefully I can put them out like bam, bam, bam with just a small window between. Since it is a series and they're all related, that would be ideal, I think, marketing-wise. Right. So we'll see. I also have this problem where I make pretty lofty goals, and I don't usually hit them, but I usually, I come way closer than I would had I not made the goal. So
right.
I'm not going to beat myself up if I get 5 of the 6 projects done. I'll be happy.
Nor should you. Yeah.
This is better than nothing.
Right.
Hey,
Yeah.
I'm just curious. How did you meet Matt of the Author Strong podcast? Matt Morris?
This story, Robert, little do you probably know, but it begins with you. Did you know that?
Oh, no, I did not know that. No.
So I believe this was day 3 of the Author Strong podcast. You had a blog post go live, and I am in one of your tribes on Triber, and I was browsing through, and I saw that. And I hardly, I don't even really get into Triber anymore. But back then,
Me neither.
yeah, I wouldn't click on anything. I would just share if it looked cool. But that one I actually clicked on because I was like, a podcast for writers, that sounds pretty cool. And I clicked on it, and I started listening to it. So that's how I heard about it. And then, wasn't that March? Was it March of last year, maybe? Or April?
I think it might have been, yeah. I think it was
So
March.
sometime around then, maybe a month later, I thought about, I've been listening to the show, and I thought about asking Matt to do one of our pep talks for JuNoWriMo. So I emailed him about that, and then he, of course, invited me to come on the show, which I was a little bit hesitant about, a little bit nervous, but I did. And so that was like the initiation. And then last November, actually met Matt and Nancy and Krishan down in Houston.
Oh,
So.
Cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that. And it's true. He's much nicer than I expected, too.
Oh, dear. Quick, someone fill it.
Oh, Phil. Because I'm trying to decide whether or not I want to ask you about your universe or ask you about Active Campaign. And I have to tell you, for the former, there is a little bit of personal, oh my God, I need help. Because with 3 releases out now, I'm looking at building up the mailing list. And you did an entire series about this. So, how long have you been working with Active Campaign?
Just about a month, I think. So not very long. I still don't totally get all of it.
Can I interrupt for 1 second? Could you just tell the listeners what Active Campaign is before we go any further, please?
Yes.
Thank you.
Active Campaign is I guess it's called a newsletter service. If I'm probably not saying it a very good way, but it basically helps you manage your list of emails, that people that follow you, and it helps you connect with them through email, or I think there's probably other aspects of it. Like I said, I've kind of just barely dipped my toes into it and started trying it out. What was the original question?
The original question was, how long had you been working with it?
Okay.
And I'll help you through there. Active Campaign is an autoresponder system. It's auto email forwarding system that, in conjunction with your email form on your website, actually sends out mail to your mailing list and helps you organize it. And you did a series about your transition to it. And where were you before?
I was at Milchan. Yeah, so Milchan, I didn't have the automation or anything. So automation is very new to me, but I'm really liking it. It's pretty amazing to not have to keep track. Like if you want to send different emails to different people, to not have to keep track of where they are in that, and it just already knows. So it's really handy. There's a little bit of a learning curve, and actually I'm pretty sure that Matt said that he was going to do a tutorial on how to set that up, which I'm really excited about, because there's definitely a little bit of a learning curve.
So you get into
one who can flatten the learning curve is him.
Yeah, that's right. You've gotten into segmenting your lists?
Segmenting. So I use tags. When you say segmenting, I'm not sure in what way you mean it. So I have people tagged as main list. I have people tagged as a review team. I have people tagged as street team, things like
Yep.
that. So
That's how I made it.
okay. So, but it's different than segmentation when you're in active campaign because you can actually segment further. It gets complicated.
Okay. Why did you leave Milchan? I mean, what is it about that made you go, oh, this is probably the better choice?
It was probably listening to the podcast with Matt and Nancy about active campaign and the automation, because I knew eventually I would have to upgrade, and if I'm going to start paying for it, then I want to get the best I can for my money. And so he had just highly recommended active campaign, and so I did the trial first, and then once I got into it, it just seemed natural to go ahead and get all in.
Mm-hmm. All right, then. Thank you so much for bearing with me with those, and now we're going to talk about something fun, your universe. Tell us a little bit how long... Sorry, what'd you say, Robert?
I didn't say anything.
Okay.
You must have just caught my vibe.
Oh, yes, I did. I'm sorry about that.
He must have been thinking something really hard.
Hey, now. How long have you been writing, and what do you write now? What genre?
I would call it probably, well, it's kind of walking the line between urban fantasy and thriller suspense. Mm-hmm. Because I kind of already talked about the urban fantasy angle with the superpowers, but what I didn't mention is that my main series also involves serial killers. Or one serial killer, but other evil antagonists that are also killers. So because of that, it kind of has the vibe of a thriller woven into it a little bit.
Right.
And I think you asked how long I had been writing. I've been writing since 2009, seriously, and writing novels. But it's, that's not very long. That's only, 7 years. Mm-hmm. But I kind of feel like being a writer is something that even if you're not putting down words and making up stories that way, that it's a part of you your whole life. And it probably was a part of me for a long time. And I wrote a few shorter things when I was younger. But I never really thought about being a writer then, or an author. It was just fun. You're just a kid. You're just exploring different forms of creativity. So I have an anniversary date that I consider the day that I became an author because I started writing my first book. And it was a big moment, so.
Was it in June?
No, it was, I think it was March 29th of 2009.
Nice. My writing anniversary is March 9th of 2009. That's
really cool.
It is very cool because that's when we finally got serious about it.
Yeah.
Why the urban fantasy superhero genre, thriller genre? I mean, what is it about that just pulls you?
Good question. I think it's not like I set out to write and said, what genre should I pick? Mm-hmm. It was more that actually when I started writing, it was kind of a personal dare to myself. It was a challenge of, do I have what it takes to write a book, to finish a book? Do I have that in me? And I wanted to know. And so before I started, I said, well, if I were to write a book, it would have to be the perfect story. It would have to be something. It can't just be anything. It has to be something I'm really excited about. Mm-hmm. And so at that point, I sat around thinking for about a week, and it all started with the characters. I just started coming up with different characters and the idea of these superhuman weaknesses that people could have. And it kind of started with a theme, too, because my idea behind it was it's, you know, based biblically, this idea of like our weaknesses can actually become our greatest strengths. And
Right.
so that's kind of what jump started the idea. And then I just started pulling together characters, different abilities that they could have, and different flaws. Because my books are called Flawed, the series, and so these weaknesses are what they basically call flaws. And I think I lost your original question again. Oh, why did I pick the genre was
Actually,
your original question.
you're doing just fine because
I
my
was
next
tangent.
question is, who was the first character to come to you when you're thinking the perfect story, and then you start building them, and who kind of jumped out and introduced themselves to you first?
Well, I had a few, and some of them, their flaws are revealed in the story, so I don't want to give it all away.
Right.
So I had several different main characters. One was a guy who has this type of what I call deja vu, and basically he'll have kind of like this seizure episode that's pretty short, and then when he wakes up, or when he's in it, he is experiencing the last several seconds of his life in this like slow motion, like a high attuned senses, almost like the world has paused around him, and he'll see that moment again. So, like, I'm trying to think of a good example to share. I don't know if that makes sense.
It does.
Okay, so that's one, and then another one was the idea of this character that is an empath, but not how we typically think of empaths in science fiction, where they can just feel what other people are feeling as this side thought. But instead, whenever she was around other people, their emotions took over her own mind. So she was unable to have her own feelings anytime she was around another person, and they controlled her. And so when I was considering the different characters, I realized this has to be the main character, because there's no way that you could really experience her world unless you were in her head.
Right.
So,
And that book, that Empath, seems to be your most popular.
well, it's
Or
the
at
first in the
least,
series,
right.
so
And
you
it
have
seems
to
to
start with that.
yes.
I mean,
And
you
it
don't
has
have
the
to.
most, you kind of do. But it also has the most reviews. I'm like, do you think that it's because it is the oldest, or is it something about being able to wrap somebody else's emotions around you and just live that just resonates with people? Why do you think that is?
Probably a combination. I definitely think it being the first book is a part of it.
Mm.
I do have people that will search the word empath and find it. I know that. I've had a few people that have written reviews, and because they're like, I actually didn't know this before I wrote the book, but there's people in the world that consider themselves empathic. They have this sense that they can feel what other people are feeling. And I don't know if they mean that in like a supernatural way. I think it's definitely not as extreme as in my book, you know, and a lot of them say that, like, this is more of an extreme take. But they can actually empathize with this character because they're like, I kind of get this, you know. So I've had people that just search that word because they're empaths and they find it and they read it, which is really interesting to me.
That is incredible.
Sorry, I gotta ask. Were you into comics at all, Becca? Because this reminds me of some comics from when I was a kid. I remember there was one really. It was kind of a silly example, but it was a comic of the Flash, and the villain for that month was he was going up against the slowest man in the world, and everything that the Flash did until he finally captured the slowest man, of course, seemed to help him. You know, he's like he was trying to get away in a rowboat, and the Flash would run after him, and the wake of Flash running on the water would actually push him along. And everything you were describing,
That's funny.
boy, I just had a flashback to when I was 6.
And I was trying to remember the superhero team that this was. I remember reading a comic where this young guy could go back in time, but only for 8 seconds.
Ooh, that's cool.
Right. So when you're talking about how someone goes into a catatonic state and able to see time pause, I totally got it. It resonates with those of us who read a lot of comics, who wasted our lives away.
There's also the Japanese anime and manga called Erased, where a guy first experiences what the bad thing, and then it jumps back to before he experiences it, and he goes and stops whatever the bad thing is. And that's a really good example as well. So I really enjoyed that anime.
Yes. So what you're doing is totally relating. It makes perfectly good sense.
Yeah, I never did read comic books, but I like those kinds of stories, and like I love the X-Men movies, which I know true comic book fans hate them because they're not what really happened, or which is fine. But so I just love those kinds of stories, and like the show Heroes, if you guys watch that, I really love that. There's also another show. It's not out anymore, but it's on Netflix, and it's called Haven. Have you guys heard of Haven? Yeah. I found out about that like a couple years ago. So after, my series was already in progress, but I was like, these are flaws. This is what I'm doing. Right. And I got really excited. I was like, this is a show just for me.
Right. And there was another book that was very similar by Mary Lafferty called Playing for Keeps. And it wasn't so much flaws, but like D-list powers. Like
unimportant, trivial things.
Sorry?
Like, do you mean like unimportant kind of trivial powers?
Right. Like I can always get a parking spot near the front of the store near the door, or I go to an elevator and it always rings and opens for me, or I can never drop a plate of food. And so.
See, I'm always trying to think of ones that are like that, because not every character is this huge, ultra superpower, because then everybody would just kill each other. Right. You got to have some that are a little more mundane. I think it's fun to pick something mundane and then suddenly make it interesting by how you twist it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really cool. What did you say the name of that? Was it a show?
It was called Playing for Keeps.
Okay.
By Mary Lafferty.
Yeah,
Mary Lafferty, the woman who has the coolest podcast name ever. I should be writing.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, that's the name for a podcast. I'm like, that is. I wish I had gotten thought of that name. So, you don't just write by yourself, but you also write with other people. You have some collaborators. You've had some of those projects. How does that work?
No, I haven't had collaborative. I have a couple shorts published in anthologies, but I don't have any collaborative. Good question, though. I would like to know how that works for people who do that.
So
I'm kind of fascinated.
That's
I
confusing.
think it would be fun.
I thought on your books there are 2 authors. I saw 2 authors listed on Amazon.
It might have been my editor's name or my cover artist.
Ah, okay. Okay.
Or, I mean, unless it was the anthology you were looking at, because there are a couple of those out. But I don't know if my name even comes up on the with a link or not, because I think there's only a couple. If you have an anthology with like 6 or 8 people, I think it only puts like the first 1 or 2.
I see. I didn't know how that worked, because I think what I saw was your name was linked, but your co-author, or what appeared to be your co-author, was not linked.
Oh, I don't know. But I have not done any collaborations.
All right, then. I'm going to dance by awkwardly. I'm going to go buy that awkwardly and go straight to your Etsy store. Ooh. You are not only, and this I know for sure, you are not only a talented writer, but you're also a crafter, and a very talented one, too. I look at your Instagram all the time. I'm like, girl, if I just had the time. So did this predate tell us about some of the stuff you love to do, and did this predate writing?
Ooh, the Etsy store did not. I've had it for probably a couple years now. But I mean, I've been crafting and drawing and creating my whole life. I'm one of those people, probably like all of you guys, that if, you know, if I have a 24-hour period or a 48-hour period and I don't do something creative in that time, then I'm going to start spiraling into this depression because this is just part of who I am. I mean, I have to create to survive. It's more important than a lot of other things. Not everyone understands that, and not everyone is like that, but that's how I am. So I've always drawn, I've always done crafty stuff, and my Etsy shop kind of has a theme, which is upcycling old stuff and making it cool again in a different way. So I use a lot of bottle caps, I use a lot of old denim that I fray or cut and make things out of. I enjoy painting, so a lot of my stuff will be hand painted, and I knit as well. So that's a little bit different than the upcycling, but it's just one of those other avenues that, you know, takes up my time when I have free time. But you know what? Even when I don't have a lot of free time, if I write if I write 120,000 words a summer, or if I even write, 80,000 words a summer, the thing is, like, my writer brain's getting that creative exercise, but my hands aren't. And I have to do things creative with my hands, like painting or drawing. And so I kind of have to sneak that in here and there. It's almost like two sides. Like, I don't know how the mind really works, because there's a right and left brain, and those are both right brain. But there's a part that comes out in words, and there's a part that comes out in visual art, and I kind of need both.
So writing, is it an addiction or therapy?
Ooh, that's a good question.
And the first answer that comes to mind is something embarrassing.
Something embarrassing. I don't know. Could it be both? That's a really good question.
Could be.
I feel unprepared. That's something I would like to think about more, though.
Yeah, don't
feel unprepared.
Don't feel unprepared. This is a low pressure situation. We're all going to work through this together, and it's okay if it just makes you think. It doesn't have to actually. And I think that question is applicable to anybody, and I think a lot of us ponder it one way or another.
Because it's a lot of times, for me, it's a little bit of both, or depending on the situation.
I find it's a bit of an addiction in that it can really get in the way of other life. It can be, it has a huge positive impact on my life, but like an addiction, it never goes away. Like I laugh when I think of Mur Lafferty's podcast name of "I Should Be Writing," because that's how I feel all the time. And if I am not writing or have not written in a day, then I feel I have withdrawal symptoms and I feel very bad about myself. I mean, even more than usual.
Same here. So, if you don't know if it's an addiction or a therapy, how would you compare, like, your crafting to your writing?
I would say that, like, crafting, especially if we're talking about painting and drawing, they're very therapeutic, but highly addictive. But I mean, if something is giving you this mental calm, this peace, this escape from your problems, isn't that addictive? You know, that could be like a drug too, because you're trying to escape, you're trying to shake off the stress, whatever tension or ideas you have going through your mind about this crazy real world that we live in. If you can do something to get away from that, that is addictive.
It's absolutely addictive. And it just brought me back to, I was at a wedding on Memorial Day, which is odd. I'm like, who gets married on Memorial Day?
I did. Well, I did on the
I'm sorry.
weekend. The weekend of,
On the
not the
weekend
actual.
or actually
Yeah.
on that Monday?
No, it was the Saturday before, but it's still.
Okay, that's different. The
Okay, I
Saturday
got you.
before is still a Saturday. I'm talking about the
A Monday
Monday
is
of
weird.
it.
Yeah,
So it's
that's
like,
odd.
wow. And there was a woman who was sitting up there in the back row with me, and she brought out her crochet, and she started to crochet. And I'm like, that's someone who needs a creative outlet in their life. Like, that's
Well,
someone who
she got
actually
it.
needs that. Yeah, actually, she needs that and she craves that, and it's an addiction. You bring it out there right in the middle of the homily. All right, then. So at the end of the show, we try to ask a few questions about your writing process. You're a mom of all boys, correct? Do you
Yes.
have all boys?
Yes,
Yeah,
I do.
a mother of boys, and you're homeschooling. So,
hmm
what does your writing day look like?
Um, it's very irregular, but I can give you something regular for June. If we're talking about June and July in the summer. My other days, it's just kind of take it when you can get it. But this month, I am making a priority to schedule multiple writing sessions per day because my daily goal is 2,500 words. I'm not a super fast writer. Part of that, I have come to discover that I don't think in words. Some people think in words, and so those people are generally very fast writers because all they have to do is get those words out and on the keyboard, which I can type quickly, but my mind I think very visually and I write very cinematically, and
Hmm.
so I'm watching a movie in my head and I have to figure out what words describe this movie. So for me, the thing that takes time is like trying to translate from visual to words.
Right.
So anyway, point being, I make myself several different writing sessions during the day. A morning one, preferably, an afternoon that usually starts. Usually, I eat my lunch thinking about what I'm about to write,
Hmm.
and then the evening is for my family and hanging out with my kids and making dinner, all that. And then after they go to bed, if it's a day that I still have energy and I am available, not out doing something, then I'll try to get a couple more hours in the evening too. So that's how I try to manage the crazy word counts during the summer.
Okay.
But that's not every day of the year. Usually, I find a couple hours in the evening after everybody's gone to bed.
And how do you strike that balance between being the mom and being a business owner and being a writer, emotionally and physically? How do you strike that balance?
Well, I really like that question because it's something that I have thought about so much, and I've written blog posts on this whole idea of how to find that. Because I
Hmm.
kind of feel like everyone has to find that, even if you don't have children, even if you're not married, there's still other things in your life that are pulling at you. And if you're going to be a creative type and spend time doing something, especially if you have another job, you have to figure out how to get this balance. And I think after just playing with this question a lot in my mind, because I would go through days where I, feel highly creative, but then I'm feeling guilty because I'm not hardly seeing my kids those days. I'm not spending time with my husband, and I'm not happy. And then I have days that I feel like a great mom. I give them plenty of time. I'm just reading books to them, and we're going, to the park or whatever. And I have no time for my craft. And again, I'm not happy. So either of those extremes, I am unhappy. Um, and I also don't believe in sacrificing yourself for your kids or your family. I think that's a very harmful thing to do. So this balance thing that you talk about is really big. And the only thing that I've come up with is that it is the art of learning to be uncomfortable. And if you realize that this fine line of, I'm trying not to go too far this way. I'm trying not to go too far on the other side. I have to walk this tightrope in the middle. And it's very uncomfortable because I feel like at any moment I'm going to fall off one side or the other. But if I can learn to accept that every step is going to be uncomfortable, but I can still stay up there. So, I mean, I don't know if that makes sense, but for me, that's what it's about, is realizing it's not going to feel great. It's not going to feel perfect. It's going to have this kind of uncomfortableness, but this is how we find happiness, is like this middle part.
Right. No, it makes perfectly good sense. And how do you recover? How do you take care of yourself when walking this tightrope and then you take a gainer off of it? Like, how do you take care of yourself?
I think you just got to make time for it. You have to set aside that creative time. If you're creative like me and you need that to thrive, to feel sane, you have to set aside that time. But then on the other hand, you kind of have to set aside that time for the other things in your life that are important too. I set aside my writing time, but at the same time I think, what parts of this day can I give my son really meaningful one-on-one time? What can we do together? But then I also don't let that take over my whole day. So it's tricky. It's a challenge.
We have about 5 minutes left. It went really, really fast. I can think about another 10, 15 things I want to ask you, but what I really want to do is give you the last 5 minutes to just talk about what you like to talk about. Pimp your books, talk about your Etsy store, show us pictures of your boys. Just, what would you like to tell us in parting?
I don't know. I feel like I've been talking this whole time.
You have been.
Yeah. I don't know. I'd like to hear a little bit more about the projects that you guys are working on this month, because that's interesting to me, is like going back and forth and comparing projects. Krishan, do you write in urban fantasy as well, or high fantasy, or?
I write what's called magic punk, which is fantasy based in the modern world, where it's magic fueled technology. And the project that I'm working on this month are 3 books: Banshee's Song of War, Border Boy, and Sons of the Silver Line, which take place in my universe of Alazar. Banshee's Song of War is set during the festivals, and banshees in mythology used to sing. There were these witch-like women, crones, who would sing when someone has died. And in Alazar, what happens is when your child is applying for citizenship, it is literally a fight to the death. And the banshees connect with them mentally, and they sing to let them know if their child has died.
Wow,
and it's
that's
her,
really cool.
And it's her story. And that's the Tillerman Festival one. And then I have a 2-part Deveron festival series where in Alazar, all children are born female. They are. And at 12 years old, when puberty starts, it's real puberty, as in that's when you find out if you're actually a girl or you become a boy.
Huh.
And because it is more a matriarchal society and inheritance goes through women, some families do not want boys to be, well, they don't want their children to become boys, so they ask them to do the honorable thing. And Border Boys and Son of the Silver Line is a story about 2 friends, one who became a female, and one who stayed female, one who became male. And the male has been asked to, quote unquote, do the right thing. And what happens during festival time to their friendship and to their lives. So that's
really
what I'm working
fascinating.
on. Yeah. I fit all that in 15,000 word nuggets of goodness, I hope.
Wow.
So that's what I'm working
Very cool.
on this,
That's cool. I've never heard of magic punk before. I never heard it described that way.
Yeah. It goes all the way back to I'm sorry, RPGs like Shadowrun,
Okay.
when in New Japan, where it's magic and it's they called it Magitech
Mm,
then.
cool.
Yeah, that is cool. That's not a subgenre on Amazon yet, is it?
No, but I intend to make it one.
I was thinking, yeah.
I'm working on that because it is
Awesome.
actually a search term on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter,
Oh,
and
cool.
it's a tag, and people talk about it all the time. And are this there's this rich set of books um, that's there, and I love reading them. So I'm like, organized. Let's unite. Let's make this a thing. They can do steampunk. We can do magic punk, and
Yeah,
no
I'm
Probably just a
thinking,
quarters.
matter of time.
yeah,
Hmm.
if you end up founding the niche or or popularizing the niche,
Hmm.
then you are you are it, baby. It. You
Yes.
have the thing. That
When
sounds
you
awesome.
create it, you can determine it, and when you determine it, you can throw the doors open and let people in. And as the Devrons say, there is room for you. So I want to make it so there is room for anyone who wants to write light fantasy but paranormal that doesn't involve a bunch of shiny vampires and dark wet streets. Because every paranormal I've read has a dark wet street. So
Funny.
that's what I want to do.
Cool. That's awesome. So, Erica, what about you? What do you write? What kind of stuff?
Um, well, I've got a couple of pen names, so I tend to write romance of some kind. What I'm working on at the moment, though, is contemporary sports romance, which is a spin-off of another contemporary sports romance that I've written. So I'm hoping to introduce. It's actually serialized as well, so a bit like what T.S. Paul's been doing, but with kind of romantic comedy sports. So it's all set in New Zealand, so we'll see how that goes.
Cool.
And on my other pen name, sci-fi romance, again a serial as well. I'm hoping to pick that back up. I just need to write more and release more often to get my sales back up there.
Yeah, don't we all? I'm right there with you.
Right.
Chaz?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, I was just going to say we're coming up on 60 minutes, so I'll be brief. I did mention that I'm doing a bunch of short stories in universe I already created, so I'll do that. Kind of opens the funnel for Robot Planet. I wanted to write more in that universe and promote those books because I want to kind of like we had Robopocalypse and then things kind of went quiet for robots, so I'm working to market that better and bring it into the consciousness. Seems to be working. Um, I've got about 5 projects altogether this summer. I think the one that I'm most excited about, that's like choosing children. I mean, everybody has. There's the ugly one, of course, but no. I'm thinking. I'm thinking something really cool is I'm actually going to be writing a nonfiction book with my wife.
Oh,
So that's going to be kind of cool and interesting. I feel like I'm laying the groundwork, and I've written a whole bunch, and now I'm going to kind of hand it over to her so she can attack me with a red pen, and failing that, a knife. So it'll be awesome.
Cool.
And I think we're coming up on an hour. Bingo,
Yeah.
bango,
right.
bongo. That's done. So, hey, Becca, thank you for coming on. It's such short notice. It worked out great, and I'm so glad that we got to talk about NaNoWriMo. I wanted to talk to you a lot more about
JuNoWriMo.
JuNoWriMo. Sorry, yeah, JuNoWriMo. I want to talk more about active campaigns with you sometime because I'm going to be doing some work with Matt Morris from the Author Strong podcast on, I think, kind of similar to what you did as far as getting our getting a lot of marketing optimized, and Matt's going to help me with that. It's going to be really exciting.
Awesome. I will be happy to talk anytime you want to.
Cool. And JuNoWriMo, what I think what we should do is just get your website for people listening, please.
JuNoWriMo or my website? Which one?
Both.
Okay, so JuNoWriMo is JuNoWriMo.com. And if you feel like joining at the end of day 9 or possibly day 10 if you're on the other side of the world or a little ahead of us, there is a button on there that says, what does it say? Get started is what it says. I was trying to think what it says. So if you click that, you can sign up. And even if you don't want to dedicate your next 21 or 20 days to it, if you sign up, then you'll at least get on our mailing list. And so basically all we send is pep talks during the month. And then next year when we start gearing up again, you'll get a notification. So that'll be a good way to remind you about next year, which is also going to be awesome. And then my website is BeccaJCampbell.com. It's BeccaJCampbell.com.
Bueno. Thank you very much. And with that, we should wrap up the Self-Publishing Roundtable. So thank you, Krishan. Thank you, Erica. Thank you, me. And Krishan, do you have anything you'd want to say to the internets?
Oh, goodbye, internets. Bye.
There you go.
Bye-bye.
Good night, internets.
Good night, internets. Bye.